I'm going to be talking about episode 3 of season 18 of Deadliest Catch. And the boats that are going to be in this episode are the Time Bandit, Stall Bus, Wild Bill, the Patricia Lee, and the U.S. Coast Guard will also be in this episode. At the start, it has Jonathan talking about the massive Arctic storm that's coming in with 60-knot winds and giant waves, nasty weather. The weather is not going to be very nice outside. It's going to make it hard for the captains to fish in, and it's also going to make a Coast Guard rescue a very tough mission. This episode starts out with the Patricia Lee. They were heading towards Akita, where they were going to drop off their crew member Francis, who got crushed by a pot in the last episode. They're afraid they're not going to be able to get a plane in there, so he starts heading back to Dutch Harbor. That is going to take them about 10 hours to get into the range of the U.S. Coast Guard, which is about 100 miles from Dutch Harbor. This is about 3 hours after the incident happened, so Francis will be injured on board the Patricia Lee for about 13 hours before the U.S. Coast Guard can rescue him. They're making sure he's all good, and Captain Rip, it's definitely hit him hard because last season, Todd, who was a former deckhand on the Summer Bay, got crushed by a pot on the Patricia Lee and didn't make it. He's reliving that and reliving what had happened to Francis. Then it goes to the U.S. Coast Guard, and the U.S. Coast Guard is starting to get the mission ready to go. They start fueling up the helicopter. They are putting on about 2,600 pounds of fuel. So that means they're going to burn about 1,000 pounds of fuel to get to where the Patricia Lee is. So that's about 2 hours of flight time. So every hour they're burning about 500 pounds of fuel. And that gives them about an hour to rescue Francis aboard the Patricia Lee. And then that gives them 2 hours of flight time back. The rescue, they'll use about 500 pounds of fuel. And then on the way back, they'll use about 1,000 pounds of fuel. So they'll have about 100 pounds of fuel left by the time they land. Then it goes to the Time Bandit and the Cornelia Marie, and they're like, with this weather, how it is, I don't know if they're going to be able to do it, because it's not nice out there. Then it goes to the Stall Bus, and the Stall Bus is hauling in a pot, and the crane is not as fast as the one that they have on the Northwestern or the other crab boats. The boat is rocking really badly. They get the pot up and it starts swaying like this really hard and it's bashing into the rail. They finally get it on board, but it was very dangerous. Then it goes back to the Time Bandit, and the Time Bandit is anchored up just off of St. George Island. Time Bandit is rolling really badly, so it's not for them to be at anchor, because with the boat rolling the way it is, it could snap the anchor off or rip the anchor off Time Bandit's deck. So Jonathan's also like, if I can't sleep and I'm nervous, then we gotta get back out there. They start hauling in the anchor, and one of the deckhands on the Time Bandit, he grabs onto the anchor line, which is very dangerous because if the anchor snaps, it could severely injure him or kill him. He's told not to, and then he stands over it, which is extremely dangerous because he'll get severely injured or killed. It's a very stressful time. Jonathan's not all that happy. He gets off, and then they get the anchor in, and they start heading back out to the Golden King Crab Grounds to fish in 50+ knot winds. And then it goes to the Patricia Lee, and the Patricia Lee is just getting within U.S. Coast Guard's limit of 100 miles or less. It shows them, and then the U.S. Coast Guard helicopter, they just arrive on scene and they are observing how the boat's rolling and the conditions and stuff. An hour to rescue Francis, but with a headwind, it really slowed them down, so they have about 20 minutes to rescue Francis. The first go around, they're over the Patricia Lee, and it's not going well, so they abort that first round. And then, with about 10 minutes to spare, they formulate a plan and stuff, and one of the pilots, he's like, if we go down, we're gonna go down in front of you, and there's 05 souls on board. You never hear that from the U.S. Coast Guard. It shows Josh and Casey and then Jake talking about this situation. They're saying that they're not going to be able to rescue Francis. It's very rare where you hear a U.S. Coast Guard pilot letting the crab boat captain know how many people are on board and a plan to abort if they need to. Normally it's the captain on the boat letting the Coast Guard know, but that is very rare situation what happens there. Then the U.S. Coast Guard gets going on round 2. They look at everything, make sure they've timed it right, and then they send the rescue swimmer down, and they get him down on the deck, and then they bring the basket down to put Francis in it. They get him wrapped up in a sleeping bag, and then once they do that, they get him on the basket. They bring him out to deck, and waves are just crashing over the deck and getting him sopping wet. And then they hoist Francis up in the U.S. Coast Guard helicopter. Once he's up there, they hook the rescue swimmer up, and he starts going up, and as he's passing by the crane, he salutes Captain Rip, and he's like 2 inches away from hitting the crane, and they get him up into the helicopter. They start taking Francis back to Dutch Harbor and checking in, making sure he's all good. So Captain Rip was like, wow, that was amazing. I have never seen something like that. And then the crew of the U.S. Coast Guard helicopter were like, this is going to be one to remember. This has been one of the craziest rescues I've ever been involved in. So it was pretty crazy hearing that, because there's been some pretty crazy rescues and stories before. Then it shows Jonathan, Casey, Josh, and Jake Anderson. They're all talking about the rescue, and they're like, wow, that was crazy hearing about that rescue. And they're really happy that Francis got off the Patricia Lee to go get medical help. Then it goes to Wild Bill, and Wild Bill and Landon Cheney, they land in Norway, and then they start heading to the Tromsø, which will be the boat that they're going to be fishing for king crab on. And that boat is about 30 feet or so, maybe a little bit bigger, but it's way smaller than the Summer Bay, because the Summer Bay is about 100 plus feet long. So it's going to be quite a small boat, Captain Wild Bill to be captaining. And it goes to the stall bus. The area they had been in, they were getting 0 king crab in it, so Sig saw a sandy area, like in the Bering Sea, like to be in. They're setting their gear, and then they're about to set a pot, but luckily they don't. When the wave hits, Captain Sig hears a really weird noise, like something you don't hear very often. What had happened was not everything was tied down in the kitchen, and all that stuff, it goes flying across the galley. Fresh water leaking from the sink because it got pulled off the wall and because it wasn't tied down. There's water gushing all over the floor, and the crew comes in and they start wiping it up and turn everything back and start tying it into place. Piece of machinery in that galley that the crew really needs, that is broken, and that's the coffee maker, because everyone lives on coffee on a crab boat. So they're gonna have to fix it or get a brand new one. Then it goes to the U.S. Coast Guard, and the U.S. Coast Guard lands back in Dutch Harbor, and they offload Francis onto an ambulance to get to an airplane ambulance to get to Anchorage, Alaska, for him to be in a hospital. Someone lets the Patricia Lee know that Francis made it safely to Dutch Harbor, and he's being sent to Anchorage, Alaska. Then it goes to Wild Bill. They're about to head out into the fjords to start fishing for king crab. There was a little miscommunication with Landon, Wild Bill, and the owner of the Tromsø. The owner of the boat thought they were going to be fishing in 50 fathoms instead of 100 plus fathoms. Wild Bill's like, can you add what you took out? And they're like, yeah, we can do that. So they'll get that fixed and then head out into the fjords and start fishing for king crab. Then it goes back to the Time Bandit, and the Time Bandit is hauling in their golden king crab pots. And the first pot comes up with about 33 golden king crab in it. The second one has about 40 golden king crab in it, and then they have another one at like 33 golden king crab. So Jonathan is really happy about that. They're all happy that they're doing so well getting golden king crab. And then it goes to the Patricia Lee, and the Patricia Lee is in Dutch Harbor offloading. Captain Rip gets a call from Francis's doctor that lets him know he's gonna be okay. So Captain Rip is really happy about that, and he lets his crew know that Francis is gonna be alright. He's like, that's a relief. but I'm still gonna be kicking myself for it. And then it goes to the Tromsø. It shows the Tromsø leaving the Norway harbor and heading out into the fjords to start their king crab season in Norway. And that is how episode 3 of season 18 of Deadliest Catch ends. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and don't forget to hit the bell icon down below so you can be notified when I upload videos. Also, please share this video with your friends and family, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and don't forget to smash the like button. Thank you guys for watching, and if you ain't dreaming, you ain't living. Don't forget to dream big.